What's up, everybody? My name is Ben, and I just want to take a quick look right now at the 2017 MacBook Pro and see just how good it is to use in 2023. So let's get right into it. So this is it. This is the 2017 MacBook Pro 15-inch. And as you can see, this is one beautiful machine. It's built incredibly well, and it looks just incredible, even for its age. I had somebody come up to me the other day and ask me, "Oh, how is your new MacBook? Are you liking it?" And I said, "No, bro, this thing is 6 years old." And they couldn't believe me just because it's such a nice looking machine still. And I think that comes down to just, first off, how nice that display is. It's a 15-inch display, it's bright, it's very pixel dense, and it just looks amazing. The other thing that I think has really stood out on it is that huge trackpad. You can even stick like your whole phone on that trackpad if you have a smaller phone. It's just absolutely massive. And just the overall design of this thing, it's just a wonderful looking machine. It's aged incredibly well. Now, there are a few cons to it, and I would like to get into those quickly. The first con is, and I've addressed this on my channel before, the keyboard. Now, if you're looking at buying one of these, I would recommend doing the following things just to check the overall health of the keyboard without even testing the keyboard. The biggest way you can tell where the keyboard is at is by going to settings, system report, and then checking power and seeing how many battery cycles you have. Now this one has 187 cycles, and that just gives you a rough estimate of how much use the computer has gotten. Now if you do have the ability to check it in person, open up TextEdit and just test out all the keys. This one has a bad B key, and as you can see right now, most of the time it doesn't have an issue, but sometimes it does produce double taps. I think I've also had some issues with the O key, and as you can see, it's more or less usable. I've been able to use this computer on the daily and not have huge issues with it, but with things like the B key, things like the left shift key, which usually gives out, and the space bar, some of those things will be especially annoying, especially with the B key being the key that you use to bold text with Command B. That has gotten really annoying with sometimes it not bolding text. So just be very, very aware for one of this issue with the keyboards on them. Now, the other issue to be aware of is the fact that we are out of software support. As you can see, this is fully up to date, but it is stuck on Ventura. And that means that you'll be stuck on that older version of macOS for the length of using this device. Now you can go ahead and upgrade it to Sonoma via OpenCore if you want to patch it, if you're willing to do that. But I wouldn't recommend that for most people just because it is a pain in the butt every time there is an update for it to run all of the patches over again. And it's just not a process I'd recommend for everybody. So now the big question, how fast is this thing? How quickly can it open up applications? How quickly can it get things done? Let's just go ahead and open up all of these apps and we'll see how quickly it's able to do all of it. And you can see it's fast. It's not nearly as stunningly fast as Apple Silicon is, but you're able to open things up pretty quickly. And these are all the stock apps, of course, so they're optimized for this computer. But you can see there's not much of a delay between clicking on something and it actually opening up, which is super impressive. This thing really has aged nicely and the performance is definitely there. Now let's just go ahead and open up maybe a few heavier applications. We'll do Google Chrome, and this is all while the RAM is filling up with all these other applications that we've opened. And you can see Google Chrome is taking its time, but it does come up. Let's open up Word now, and we'll see how long that takes to open up. And you can see now that it's starting to get filled up more on its RAM, things are taking a little bit longer to open. But of course that would be alleviated if we didn't have so many apps open. And you can see that we're able to switch between those apps easily without any sort of problem. But Word is now finally opening and allowing us to enter the setup process for it. Let's see if there's any other applications we could open. We'll open up the new version of Teams and see if that opens up. And in all fairness, all of these apps I'm opening are setting up for their very first time of use, so maybe that does take a little bit longer than opening up something that's already been set up before. Now, something that you might want to use this computer for is iMovie. Maybe I'm the only one, but I really enjoy using iMovie. But it is one of the heavier applications that you would use on this device. And you can see just barely Teams is opening up and iMovie is taking its time. So this computer is starting to get slower as you have all of these applications open. Now, as soon as I finished filming that clip, the screen just died. And this is something to be aware with these computers is when you have an older battery like this, a computer that's been through a lot on the battery with 6 years of use, and it only has 180 or so cycles, but I can imagine it's been plugged in for a lot of time and it's been used for a lot of that time. When you put it through too much, the screen will just go black because the battery can't keep up with what's going on with it. So that is something to be very aware of. You can see now that it's trying to come back awake, and it definitely just died on us. So just be aware that these older batteries and these computers can't go through quite as much as they once could have. And it might be worth the money to buy a replacement if you are committed to using this machine and the keyboard is good. So you can see now we're back, but that was not very good to see. Now, one thing that is especially nice about the computer is the speakers. In 2016, we saw a huge improvement with the speakers. The 2015 and before MacBook Pros had pretty solid speakers, but in 2016, we saw a huge improvement in bass and just overall sound quality. So I wanted to give you just a quick overview of what it sounds like. We'll just play this music real quick. And let's turn it up. So that's just a quick overview of that, but these speakers are really incredible. And you don't even need an external speaker when using this computer just because it really does sound that good. And one huge benefit to these 15-inch machines is the graphics horsepower that you have with them. On these, you got a Radeon graphics card included along with a quad-core Intel processor. The 13-inch machines that you get from the same years only have a dual-core processor and integrated graphics. And that makes a huge, huge difference on what you're looking at in terms of performance as you're going into 2024. That quad-core processor and the graphics card will make a huge difference on your overall workflow. And this computer, as I showed earlier, is fast, it's fluid, and really there's not much holding it back. If you compare it to even the newest computers at Best Buy, you'll definitely see computers that are faster, but with a fast SSD, with a capable quad-core and graphics card in these computers, they still are able to look surprisingly modern and surprisingly decent still as we go into 2024. And one of my favorite things about this generation of MacBook Pros is the touch bar. Now that's a very controversial opinion, but I absolutely love the ability to just change the volume with a swipe, change the brightness with just a swipe, and also to select my emojis from up there. It's super convenient and it's just a lot of fun to be able to have that touch bar there. Now I opened up FaceTime and I wanted to use it as a chance for you to see how the camera looks. You can see it's super grainy, and obviously this isn't the best way to show off that graininess, but it doesn't handle the light incredibly well and it looks super grainy overall. So obviously if you're going to be doing a lot of video conferencing, this isn't the most ideal computer for that. So how much do these things cost to get? Let's just take a look at the used market real quick. You can see it here. We have one for $575, $475. One here with MDM lock. It's a managed device for $325. Ones that need their battery replaced for $270. Overall, you're gonna be looking at somewhere between probably $300 and $500, I have to say, to get one of these. And the question is it worth that? And my answer is a tentative no. I don't think it's worth it for this computer. I absolutely love my time with it. I think the speakers are amazing. The display is something else. The overall performance of the machine is pretty incredible. But for the risk that you're taking on with this machine, with the keyboard, that's just simply a time bomb, with the batteries that are all degrading, with the lack of software support at this point, I feel like your money is much better spent on a newer and more modern machine. If you need something that's 15 inches, please try to splurge for the MacBook Air 15 inch. I've seen those online on the used market for as low as $850, $900. And the M1 MacBook Air for just $500 to $600 I've also seen on the market. And if you can make those work, if you can get the money for one of those are a far, far better investment than getting one of these machines now in 2024.